Well, it's been a headache for White House staffers over the past 6 years. President Obama's golf game. The commander-in-chief's tendency to pull out the golf clubs often happens at inopportune times, and it always seems to wind up in the newspapers, on TV, and, oh, it's happening again. This time, Obama's golf game got in the way of 2 U.S. Army captains trying to get married in Hawaii. Natalie Heimel and Edward Malou were stationed there at the military base, and they had plans for several months to say their vows right there at the military golf course. But after months of planning, their wedding rehearsal already over, they had to change their plans last minute because the president's golf entourage was coming through unannounced. Fortunately, the couple decided to play nice. They said they didn't mind moving their wedding to make way for President Obama. Of course, conservative critics often love to blast the president for his golf game, as he seems to always be on the green when the bad news comes out. And hey, we figured, what good is a golf headline without a few golf jokes? Well, I heard this one. Obama's birthplace critics love to point out that he seems to be drawn to playing in the sand, perhaps a subconscious connection to his Kenyan homeland, as they say. But then again, you know what Obama yells when he hooks his tee shot? Of course, the president, left-handed. So as rumor has it, when he hooks the tee shot there, he screams out Rush Limbaugh on a slice because it's fat, ugly, and off to the right. But to the president's credit, he's really good at economy golf, or so people say. He gets the most bang for his buck. For the price of regular admission, he gets in more strokes than anyone. For what it's worth, I'm really not much better at actual golf than I am at telling golf jokes. So that helps us all. But anyways, in other news, the big shipping companies managed to avoid the nightmare before Christmas this year. FedEx and UPS both delivered an estimated 98% of express packages on time on December 24, Christmas Eve. That according to the tracking firm Ship Matrix. Beat that, Santa Claus. That's a very different story from last year. As you might remember, FedEx, UPS both experienced a last-minute meltdown thanks to bad weather and over-promising by retailers. FedEx's on-time rate last year was more like 90%, UPS closer to 80%. Not good numbers. Millions of packages went undelivered, at least not on time. This year, 98%, almost a perfect record. Still, the late surge forced FedEx drivers to be out delivering on Christmas Day, not usually considered a standard delivery day, but they did get them all delivered in time, they say. Well, it's one of those places where failing just isn't acceptable. Poor performance standards are costing a U.S. nuclear facility millions of dollars in federal fines. The National Nuclear Security Administration slashed $6.2 million from the Los Alamos national budget after a poor annual evaluation. The chief contributor was a radioactive waste leak at the lab's pilot plant. Los Alamos had also had a handful of regulatory failures which forced New Mexico officials to fine it more than $36 million. Chrysler sounds the alarm to their customers, recalling nearly 67,000 pickup trucks. They say it's an ignition problem. If you purchased a Chrysler pickup between 2006 and 2007, your vehicle is now part of the latest recall from Chrysler. The auto company says a wire in the clutch ignition interlock switch could break, and that could keep the truck from starting. Or if drivers don't follow their recommended starting procedures, the truck could actually move when the ignition is turned on. It could lurch forward. Now, the company is recalling nearly 55,000 trucks of that number in the U.S. alone. Chrysler says so far, 1 death has been linked to the problem. And just a few days left in 2014, you know what that means. It will soon be time to file your income tax returns. Despite last-minute decisions in Congress to extend some tax breaks and cut back on the IRS budget in a big way, the tax agency still says they'll be able to start accepting returns as early as January 20. Now remember, there had been some concerns that late legislative action might slow down the process, but after all, the tax man cometh. And as the Obama administration confirmed, the fines for Obamacare will be even higher this year. Of course, the IRS, the nation's tax agency responsible for collecting Obamacare fines as well. And with New Year's right around the corner, many people turn their attention to those resolutions, new diets, you know the kind, starting Thursday, of course, a new year and some new plans to lose weight. Many will resort to supplements to try and lose some of those pounds and maybe a few inches around the waistline. But more often than not, many of those supplements don't work out as they promise. Consumer Reports surveys found that 90% of people who took supplements to lose weight did not shed any pounds. But while the desired result might have been lacking, spokeswoman Tricia Salvo said side effects still showed up. Over a quarter of the supplement users believed the products were safe and effective, but their those are not even subject to fewer regulations than over-the-counter drugs from the FDA. Now, many people don't realize supplements don't even have to be pre-screened at all, tested or proven by the FDA, and that's something they're trying to change in Congress this year. We'll see how that goes and update you with any news, but of course, two things that are proven to help lose weight: a healthy diet and exercise, but hey, you already knew that. And get this, a new person every 16 seconds. Think of that, the pace of population growth this year in the U.S. That's according to the Census Bureau. The agency out with new numbers this year, with the U.S. population growing by less than 1% to a total of 320 million people living in this country. The census says one birth is occurring every 8 seconds, but now one death also occurring every 12. So you do the math. Births have also boosted the American population by an estimated 1.3 million people this year alone. That puts the U.S. as the third largest country in the world, trailing China and India in a big way. Each of those two countries with well over 1 billion occupants. The Census Bureau estimates that the global population is right around 7.21 billion people, but hey, who's counting after all? One of those people, Congressman Michael Grimm. You may have heard the name for all the wrong reasons, I'm afraid. The New York City Republican pleaded guilty last week to tax evasion, and now we're hearing he'll resign next week, starting Monday. Grimm wanted to get back to work after his guilty plea and had plans to do so, but then he spoke to House Speaker John Boehner. He's taken a public stance, a tough stance, against members facing any kind of ethics charges. And now, after that conversation, Grimm is on the way out. His departure just hurries the inevitable. This likely would have gone to the Ethics Committee and then become a major distraction for the Republican Party. They decided to just do away with him, and he's playing along. Grimm once threatened to throw a reporter off a balcony. New York, we shouldn't have to remind you, but you get what you vote for.